We're glad to be here. We're glad to be in Raytown. Been here since 1993. This particular property since 1998. I think we bought it from Mr. Mock, maybe your dad or an uncle or somebody. And, you know, when we negotiated the good deal then, it was a good deal then. It should still be a good deal today. As it's been stated tonight, you know, we've had one of the worst economic downturns in the history of this country, unless somebody in here is 80 years or older. So everybody's going through the same pain element. I hate it that the school district thinks we're the ones that's coming in here and knocking these programs out. I've got 7 children and 15 grandchildren, and I can assure you I love school systems. And I support school systems. We're trying to be good neighbors in this community here to keep the school project going. We made an offer. That offer wasn't good enough. They're trying to, as I understand it, they're trying to make this issue, but for us, trying to get between them, you all, and the school district. City, we don't want to be in that position. We want to be a good neighbor to this alderman, this board. We want to be good neighbors to the city, to the school system. We want to provide those things. CPA that came out, I'm a CPA. Been in CPA for 40 years, worked with people from Price Waterhouse. I've been in meetings like this where they were the ones coming in and asking for tax abatement. This is a two-way street. I don't want to get into this is bad and that's good, but I mean, we have to work with these kind of abatement programs. In every economic development program I've ever been around for the last 40 years, there has been some kind of encouragement for people to come in and invest money. They do that by either having grants, which we're not asking for a grant. They do it by loans. We're not asking for a loan. They do it by increasing sales tax. We're not asking for increase in sales tax. We are putting money into this project. We are. Not the school district, not anybody else. Right now, we're putting the money in personally. What we're asking for is to take part of that investment over an abatement period, help us do that, because we're going to spend a lot more than just this money invested over these 4 phases. What project have you had come in here in the last year or two that's going to create 40 jobs? Have you had a lot of those? I'm asking you all, have you all had a lot of people that are going to come in and create 40 jobs? I haven't heard about them. I read about these things in your all's newspaper. I read the blog. I read those things. I don't see those 40 job creations a lot. And, you know, to make us the bad guy in this, to say that we created this blight, that's not a true statement. We're creating jobs that are going to be in the city of Raytown. They are the kind of jobs that the high school is going to, these kids that are going to be part-time kids coming out of there that are going to come over here and go to work for people like Savalot in these retail jobs. You know, the city is going to get, what was it, a 9-to-1 return on their money? I mean, we're putting in at somewhere around $1 million+ this phase. Next 3 phases, another $300,000 or $400,000. City gets back $9 million over a 25-year period. That's a lot of return. The school system, as I understand from the numbers that have been run, and you can talk about guesses, but when you're budgeting and performing going out into the future, you have to put some of these things into performance. You want hard statistics, then you got to go to history and see what's happened. So we've got to put performance with it. We've got studies that were performed. We've had appraisers come up here. We've spent a lot of money to get to this point. So, you know, the school district gets money over the long haul. Are we supposed to make them whole on every project? Again, we want to be a good neighbor, and we want a good school system for Raytown. We want the children here to be well educated. We know that creates jobs, and we know that the economic benefit of this city or any city has to do with the level of education you provide. But we're not the only ones that's going to stand up here and do that. We've paid a lot of school tax. One of the gentlemen said that, you know, 75% of our dollar, or 75 cents of the dollar goes to school taxes. I didn't know that number, but that's a lot of numbers that we've paid out over the last 12 years. I'm sure it's all into the close to $1 million that we've paid it. So again, we've tried to be good neighbors, and we want to be. Now, Savalot. I live in a town of 7,500 people in Kentucky, a rural community. Our entire county is smaller than Raytown. Our entire county is probably 4 to 5 times the area mass that Raytown is, and we only have 22,000 people in the county. In our city of 7,500 people, we have 4 grocery stores. We have a Walmart, Piggly Wiggly, which is a Southeast region grocery chain. We have a Dollar General Market. I think we may have one here in Raytown, I'm not sure. And right next door to, 40 feet from the Dollar General Market, Savalot come in and did the same kind of study they did here, put that grocery store in, and they are beating the market in what their entry level is. They're outdoing Walmart on the low end, they're outdoing the Dollar General Market on the low end, and they're the top dog in town. They are a franchise unit down there. So they are through the Houchins Industries. And Houchins Industries was a grocery store chain through the southeast of the United States, built up a large regional business, but today their fastest growing market are the Savalots. And they are franchised to the southeast, and I'm not sure how many stores, but I think out of that 455 that were mentioned, well over half of those are with the Houchins chains. And I know those people personally. They live about in Glasgow, Kentucky. There's about 2 hours from where I live, and those people are wanting to grow that business. Whenever you talk about super value and versus Savalot, if you go back to this gentleman's comments, if you read the whole report and look at free flow cash flow, not net income, not where the money, what's the debt loads are, look at the free flow cash flow from the Savalot units only. It's their biggest and fastest growing business. Pending bankruptcy, which nobody wants to see, the free flowing cash flow businesses are going to still operate. That's the way our economy goes. The return on investment for everybody in here, for the school system, for the city, for the people who live in Raytown, for the general businesses downtown, this is a good deal. I cannot understand where the heat comes from this when you all have approved these 353 projects. Did the school system get their part on that one? Did they come in here and ask for their part back on that? When the gentleman up here was talking about this is a negative vote, well, did you all vote negatively when all those that were presented up here earlier? Did you all make bad votes on those? Those businesses are good, viable businesses and projects today. I don't see anybody of those people going out of business. Our comments earlier about the housing market, we're creating jobs that will make that provision for these people to be able to pay their mortgage, their upkeep of their property. And to me, it's one of the best win-win projects you can ask for in this kind of deal. And I'm going to stop there except for two comments. I dearly appreciate walking into a meeting and having prayer of the place. I'm going to go meet Queen Mother.
You got to.
I am amazed that you all did that. To have that lady, I was overwhelmed by it, and I appreciate you all allowing that to happen in here. I've not ever been in a public meeting where that was allowed, and I want to applaud you on that one. The second thing I want to applaud you on, and even more of this, I guess, I love ladies like that, but Chief Lynch and his people last week responded to a robbery in our center. They were on call, and they were first responders. They were there fast. They got that center back to safety. The people inside there, young men who responded that were shot at. That's a terrible thing for a young man to have to go through. Or I guess it was young men, whoever their personnel were. But I am so proud that we're involved in a city where we have a police unit like that. Those guys had to be, that's just a terrifying position. I thank you all, and I thank you for hiring them and electing them in that. That's my comment.
Thanks, sir.
Distinguished Alderman and Honorable Judge Mayor Bauer, or not Judge, but Mayor Bauer.
I got promoted.
Maybe Judge later.
I'm not running for judge.
12 years ago, December 23rd, and my name, by the way, is Jeff Arnold. Of course, this is Gene Hargis. 12 years ago, we left Kentucky as far as investment and came out here and invested in the Kansas City area. We have invested in a couple other little strip centers in the area, a couple other buildings. It was before Kessinger Hunter, by the way, which we're very pleased with Kessinger Hunter today. We had a different management company at the time. So we had some resources. Honestly, we sold some real estate back home, and everybody said, what are you going out to Kansas City for? I said, but Gene had some experience here, and we were very impressed with Kansas City. You know, Then we came to Raytown, and very impressed and still are with Raytown. We've just been crushed, as many people have, and I think it was talked about. It started in homes, gone through commercial real estate. There's many vacant big boxes right now, many strip centers vacant. And honestly, it's getting ready to hit our states with municipal bonds in about June or July. But right now, we're trying to come out of this throughout this country on the homes, and we're dealing with it on the commercial side. We're 40% occupied. We do have reserves, by the way, and we've used them. Not only have we there's not a pothole in our parking lot. It's well lit. We've got mason work done, mill work. The roof's been replaced. We've kept our property up. In order to attract a quality tenant, we had to make some of those investments as well. So now comes Savalot. Savalot is a catalyst to help us reignite what once was a vibrant facility. As more revenue comes into the facility, we've got more resources to continue to beautify and grow that facility. What we're asking for, I think, the Raytown Municipal Redevelopment Corporation. I mean, I think we fit that really well. I mean, we're willing to take our personal money, borrow it. And by the way, investors are people who sign on the dotted line with us for debt. We are the investors. If anybody's an investor, the city is investing money assuming that we're reasonably prudent investors, that we've done our homework to seek a quality tenant, put capital at a risk to return that center to vibrancy. It's called Traffic Way, and we do need to bring traffic back that way. I think we owe it to our current tenants, by the way. They've stuck with us for 3 years. You know, we talked to, by the way, Thriftway Coddington. We talked to them before they left. Specifically, didn't we? We talked to them about upgrading their property. But at that point, it's toward the end of their career, and they didn't want to upgrade. So the inside did fall apart inside. That was the tenant's responsibility. It's vacant now, and it's our responsibility to bring a tenant in to revitalize that center. We think it's going to have a trickle-down effect to our other tenants. It's going to have a trickle-down effect to the city by raising sales tax, personal property tax, and eventually the real estate value is going to go up when that gets vibrant and we put people back in. So what are our choices? Our choices are to continue to muddle through the best we can at 40% occupancy and thank our tenants for hanging in there with us. Or we're going to reach into our pockets, take debt, and make our best effort to revitalize that center. So I've heard the term free money. This is not free. You can call it free money. You're making a capital investment with us, but we're taking the bulk of the risk on the front end, putting the money out. You're partnering with us to help grow that to that north end of town. And I think it can be very viable. I think Thriftway Coddington's could have continued to succeed if they would have made the reinvestment. But it was just not something they wanted to do. 3 years have gone by. We've got a quality tenant. We certainly ask for your support. The clock is ticking for us, by the way. We've got some representations with Savalot. I'm not going to tell you they're going to go somewhere else. I'm not going to tell you that, I'm not sure what they're going to do, but we know we've got a deadline of January 15th. I think this is a winning deal for the city. I think it's a winning deal. It's a winning deal for the school over time, but it lets us grow jobs. You know, we believe in education, by the way, strongly. Education is the bedrock of workforce development, the bedrock. So we believe in education. We want to help, but right now we want to protect our investment that we've got here, and the best way to protect it is put more money in, by the way, to help revitalize this. And one of the keys is Savalot. So we need your help in order to bring Savalot in, and that's what we're asking for. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
You have a word?
The only concern I've got is round two of, public comment is still open.
I'll be brief.
Is it new material, respectfully?
That's brief, very brief.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah, I'm just responding as others have responded to our comments, and I think it's worthwhile that we have a few closing remarks. First of all, I think these gentlemen are wonderful people. They really are, and I think when we're all done, we've had a great debate, a great argument. Whatever happens, I think we could have a beer and have a nice time together. I really mean that. They appear to be very quality people.
Would you play golf with them?
Play golf with them.
All right.
But on the other hand, though, when somebody gives you numbers on a deal when you sit down, when the meeting starts, and says that, that these are the numbers, I always tell people, grab your wallet, because you got to have time to work the numbers and understand the numbers. And I tell you, our numbers don't agree with this. We're probably in the range of $600,000 to $700,000 away from these numbers. So then we need some time to work out where they got these numbers and express our feeling about how we feel about them. Now, the second thing is the issue of having $1 million in the deal. Well, this deal, remember Toy Story? Toy Story had that character Buzz Lightyear. Buzz Lightyear said infinity and beyond. Well, I got to tell you, when you put $1 million in something and somebody gives you that money back through tax abatement, the rate of return is infinity and beyond. You end up with nothing in the deal. And that's been our position, is that the money in the deal is coming from the tax jurisdictions, the schools, the JUCO, the mental health, the disabled organizations. We're the ones that are putting in the capital ultimately we'll put in the capital for this deal. Lastly, and I'll leave you with this. Look, I've had discussions with Jeremy, and I believe there's a way to create a compromise where we can get closer to whole, okay? Closer to whole. And it can't be done when you walk in with the numbers when the meeting started. It needs to take time. It needs to take time to germinate. We think this is a good project too. We don't want to be in the way. We want to find a way to get to yes, but we need time. Now, I've taken my time, and thank you once again.
Rick, thank you. Okay, but the last thing I want to do is get into he said, she said, and debate back and forth. So
yeah, this is
the topic I'd like for you to address.
Pardon me?
It's been asked a couple times about tabling this initiative. I'd like for you to respond to, is the applicant...
The applicant is looking for a vote this evening.
Okay.
The only point I wanted to make is that the information that was provided to you all, as well as the school district this evening, is an excerpt from the information they have had since December 21st or earlier. The spreadsheet that is the impact analysis, all we did was take that spreadsheet and cut it off at 11 years instead of 25 and put the total there. The assumptions are all the same. They're the same assumptions that were used by the city's consultants in the notice that went out to the taxing districts, and I think that letter went out 30 days before the hearing. So the assumptions, which is what we're talking about, the assumptions, how much the property's worth now, how much it potentially will be worth after these improvements, all that information has been available in spreadsheet form, city spreadsheets from the Williamson Campbell firm, our spreadsheets in November and December previously. So quite frankly, it's generous to say that all of a sudden there were new numbers handed to someone this evening, because that's just not true.
Okay. All right, we're still in public comment. I'd like to not continue with second round public comment if we could. I apologize to the audience, but I appreciate your patience with Rick coming up on that. It's important, though, that we resolve this. The applicant has said they'd like a decision tonight, and certainly a decision tonight is an option. A decision tonight to table is also the mercy, or something we can look at as well. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty on this. And is there anyone else in the audience that at this time would like to address the board on this matter? Because I intend to close the public hearing if no one else wants to say anything. Once, twice. Andy, you're close. Come on.
We have had Walmart and Aldi's come in here. One, they borrowed money, essentially they borrowed money from the city, and they're repaying of sales tax. I doubt it's ever going to be paid back. That's my personal opinion. These people are not asking for a loan. They're investing their own capital. You know, I'm proud of them. You know, that's the way the American system is. You invest your own capital. You don't borrow from the taxpayers. I think they're to be applauded for this, and I'd like to see this approved. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Okay. Once, twice,